Welcome to Cold Brew Finance's U.S. End-of-Week Deep Dive, covering market moves in indexes, sectors, stocks, and global markets for the week ending Friday, February 20th, 2026. Get ready to dive into key financial highlights and trends. Kicking things off, I'm Max Profit. This week, key indexes mostly gained. The S&P 500 index closed at 6,909.52, up by 73.34, showing a mixed positive trend. The Dow 30 index ended at 49,625.98, up by 125.4, with a very strong upward momentum. Meanwhile, the Nasdaq Composite Index closed at 22,886.7, gaining 339.40 amidst some downward volatility. Market breadth was positive overall. The S&P 500 index saw 330 advances against 161 declines over the week. The Dow 30 index had 20 advances and 10 declines. In contrast, the Nasdaq Composite Index, despite upward movement, showed 1,247 advances against 1,771 declines, suggesting mixed market dynamics. In terms of total returns, the Nasdaq Composite Index led with a 1.5% increase for the week. The S&P 500 Index followed, up by 1%. The S&P 400 Mid-Cap Index marked a new all-time high close, while showing a very strong positive trend. Considering long-term performance, the Nasdaq Composite Index had the highest 10-year annual returns at 17.64%, reflecting its strong historical growth. The Dow 30 Index followed with 11.71%. Meanwhile, the Russell 2000 Index showed a robust one-year return of 17.78%.
Checking out best and worst performing equities, I'm Penny Stock. Rackspace Technology skyrocketed with a close of 1.68, gaining 1.25, or an impressive 299.8%. It demonstrated a strong positive trend and significant upward volatility. Sensei Biotherapeutics also surged 268.5% to close at 33.50, marking a new one-year high. Concept International Group rose by 148.9% to 5.95, also achieving a one-year high. Both show strong upward trends. For weekly returns overview, Rackspace Technology leads with a one-week total return of about 299.8%. Sensei Biotherapeutics follows with a notable weekly total return of 268.5%, maintaining its upward trend. Concept International Group shows a 148.9% rise in its weekly return. Both Sensei Biotherapeutics and Concept International Group have closed up consecutively for 2 weeks. Looking at annual returns, Rackspace Technology has experienced a challenging year with a drop of 41.6%. Sensei Biotherapeutics rebounded with a one-year total return over 253%. Concept International Group reported a 138% gain over the past year. Both Sensei Biotherapeutics and Concept International Group highlight very strong positive trends. Among major cap stocks, Omnicom and Global Payments stood out with positive trends. Omnicom closed at 83.26, reflecting a 20.6% rise. Moderna showed a very strong trend, advancing 18% to 49.87. Reviewing total and daily returns among the top big cap performers, Omnicom and Global Payments showed weekly gains over 20%. Moderna increased its standing with an 18% weekly return, demonstrating strong performance. This reinforces its sustained positive trend. Regarding annual returns, Omnicom and Global Payments showed varied performance. While Omnicom had minimal annual changes, Global Payments exhibited a consistent decline over the year. However, Moderna has rebounded, showcasing strong growth. Turning to the biggest losers, Davis Commodities Limited ordinary shares declined sharply by 97.2%, closing at 0.10. Fujian Blue Hat Interactive Entertainment Technology dropped 80.5% to 0.11, experiencing significant volatility. Both demonstrate very strong negative trends and are recording new all-time lows. In terms of total and daily returns, Davis Commodities Limited ordinary shares and Fujian Blue Hat Interactive Entertainment Technology showcased severe declines. Davis Commodities Limited ended the week at a low of 0.10, while GD dropped 95.2% to 0.18, highlighting very strong downward trajectories. Diving into stocks, Davis Commodities Limited ordinary shares recorded a new all-time lower close at 0.10, down sharply by 3.58. It's facing a very strong negative trend and has dropped for 6 consecutive weeks. Meanwhile, JI-Age shares plummeted to 0.18, marking a 95.2% decline, also setting a new all-time low. Now, shifting focus to big cap stocks, Genuine Parts ended at 118.6, slipping 29.10. It continues a 2-week decline with a very strong negative trend. Also, Pool is now at a new 1-year low of 221.62, dropping 44.21 and showing strong downward volatility. Continuing with the big caps, EPAM Systems closed at 138.85, down 27.52, marking a new 1-year low for the 4th week in a row. It exhibits a very strong negative trend coupled with strong downward volatility. Wrapping up the big caps, Akamai Technologies closed at 94.17, dipping 17.59, even though it recorded a new 1-year higher close recently. It shows a very strong positive trend. Palo Alto Networks declined to 148.70, down 18.25, marking a new 1-year lower close with a strong downward trend.
And now on to U.S. sector performance. The communication services sector closed at 451.33, gaining 10.20 and showing a 2.3% increase. The consumer cyclical sector ended the week at 1,863.81, with a rise of 31.62 or 1.7%. The industrial sector displayed notable strength, closing at 1,498.93, up 24.87 and just reaching a new all-time higher close. Financial services closed at 870.84, up by 13.27, while the technology sector added 81.85 to close at 5,484.43. In terms of market breadth, the communication services sector showed robust weekly gains with 113 advances and only 86 declines. The consumer cyclical sector displayed a similar trend with more weekly advances over declines, 247 compared to 210. In contrast, the financial services sector showed advances that exceeded declines significantly on both a 1-day and 1-week basis. The technology sector, however, had more declines than advances throughout the week by 55, highlighting a varied performance. Turning to total and daily returns, the communication services sector showed a 1-week total return of 2.31% despite negative month-to-date returns. The industrial sector reported a notable monthly total return of 7.06%, adding to its strong weekly performance, showcasing continued momentum. Other sectors saw smaller variations in their returns this week. Examining total and annual returns, the industrial sector stands out with a 10-year ARRR of 12.88%, elevating over other sectors. Conversely, the consumer cyclical sector had a moderate 10-year AORRR of 12.43%. Minimal shifts were noted across the 3-year annual returns for all sectors, showcasing steady long-term growth patterns.
In the communication services sector, Omnicom showed a robust performance, closing at 83.26, a significant rise of 14.26. The stock is noted for its very strong positive trend. However, DoorDash recorded a new one-year low, down to 160.34 last week, closing at 176.29, despite its very strong negative trend. Checking out total returns, Omnicom soared with a one-week total return of 20.67%, currently displaying strong upward momentum. Meanwhile, despite DoorDash's recent price rise, its year-to-date return remains negative at -22.16%, supporting a persistent, strong negative trend. Over a longer term, DoorDash had an impressive three-year total return of 185.21%, translating to an annual rate of return of 41.77%. Conversely, Match showed a mixed trend with a 10-year total return of 203.14%. News closed higher for the second consecutive week, despite a very strong negative trend.
In the consumer defensive sector, despite a new all-time higher close, the price ended down at 976.60, a significant drop of 23.4 points. The healthcare sector closed lower as well, continuing a two-week downward streak. Meanwhile, the utilities sector recorded a new all-time high, but later closed at 469.36, demonstrating strong upward volatility. In market breadth, the consumer defensive sector saw more declines than advances over both one-week and one-month periods. The healthcare sector experienced more daily decliners, alongside a longer-term mixed picture. Specifically noteworthy is that the utilities sector had more daily advances, reinforcing its positive momentum. Over the past week, the consumer defensive sector had a total return decline of 2.3%. Comparatively, healthcare sector showed a weaker weekly return of 0.58% decline. Utilities sector noted a small weekly dip, but maintained strong upward volatility, contributing positively to its midterm metrics. Reviewing long-term returns, basic materials sector achieves the highest 10-year ARR at 10.04%. The healthcare sector follows closely with an impressive annual return rate of 9.13% over 10 years, showcasing its strong growth potential over time.
In the latest performance snapshot, Campbell Soup fell precipitously, with its stock closing at 26.83, down by -2.66, reflecting a stark -9% change. A trend of strong negative momentum was observed. Meanwhile, Walmart also closed lower at 122.99, declining -10.90, despite reaching a new all-time high the previous week, indicating contrasting trends within the sector. On the returns front, CPB endured a weekly total return of -9%, accompanied by a weakening trend. Conversely, WMT maintained a positive development over the month, to date with a 3.23% total return, demonstrating its contrasting strength compared to others like GIS and KR, both showing negative weekly returns. Reviewing long-term returns, WMT has impressively grown, with a 10-year return of 471%, showcasing its robust upward trend. This significantly outperforms the weaker long-term performances of CPB and SIAG. Evidently, the sector displays varying degrees of investment strength over a longer horizon.
Thanks for watching. I'm Max Profit, along with my AI co-host, Penny Stock. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. Cold Brew Finance is an experimental project with market reports written, narrated, and delivered totally by AI, with market data kindly provided by financialmodelingprep.com. Always seek professional financial advice before making any investment decisions. Check into the channel daily for coverage of stocks, crypto, currency, and commodities. Thanks for watching.